If you're ever driving late at night and think about pulling over to sleep on the side of the road, don't. I learned why the hard way. About 2 years ago, I was driving home from a family reunion pretty late at night. The drive was about 2 hours. I didn't stay the night because I had to go back for work the following day. Most of the drive was on roads, with dense bushes and trees on each side. The real creepy ones you see a lot in the movies. Anyway, I had been driving about 45 minutes. I was starting to get really tired. You know how sometimes you suddenly become really tired out of nowhere? Well, yeah, that happened to me. I knew I was going to last. I didn't come across any place that I felt park and safe to sleep. Anyway, after it became clear to me that I wasn't going to find a place to pull up, my tiredness wasn't going away. I did something very questionable. Pulled over to the side of the road, onto the grass, behind some bushes, trying to hide my car from anybody else who was going to come past. I came across another car every few minutes or so. I made a mental note that the time was 11:22, and then fell asleep. Sometime later, I was awakened by a scratching sound. I looked at the clock, 11:50. The sound stopped after a few seconds, because I was still extremely tired. I didn't bother looking around, and simply went back to sleep. I was later awoken by the same sound, and now it was 12:40. The timing really freaked me out, because the sound didn't stop. A thought ran across my mind. That was an animal expecting my car. But why would he return almost an hour later, after I had the previous time? I looked in my rear view mirror and just managed to catch a glimpse of something running away into the forest. And at the time, I thought it was a damn hood killer. You know, the one that scratched the couple's car and then slaughtered the guy, and he got out to investigate it? Fuck that, I thought to myself. So I got the hell out of there. There was Ben, no more than 100 yards up the road. As I came around it, there's a fucking car, parked off to the side of the road, the driver's side door open. I slowed down just to look to see if anyone was in there. There wasn't. And I looked in my rear view mirror, and I didn't see anything. All of a sudden, this guy comes spinning around the corner. He started screaming at me, shouting stuff like, hey, you, get the fuck out of your car. Now, I noped the fuck out of there and sped off. I never saw that guy again. Moral of the story, don't fucking sleep on the side of a deserted road. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, I went with my family to this man-made lake. It was a park place around South Georgia, basically a big dugout pond, where the owner put a bunch of trees and beach sand around and charged admission for people to come, park the cars, grill, and swim for the day. I also had a big unsafe as hell water slide that kids got hurt on. So, my family would park in front of this little island that was a clump of sand about 30 yards off the shoreline. I wasn't the best swimmer, but the depth was just above my head, so I could bob up and down and bounce out to this island. Bouncing out to that little island one day, we were there. My foot came down to something that felt like a face, felt like a nose on my toe. The thing I remember is the feeling of hair falling between my toes, the feeling of fine hair waving in water. I freaked out and for the longest time just sat on the shore. I was a little kid and did not think anything about it. I can still remember the parents going around and yelling the little boy's name, asking if anyone had seen the little boy. They eventually found him and pulled his body from under the water, right in front of the island. I'm 47 now. I can still remember the feeling of the hair between my toes. A few summers ago, I went for a bike ride around midnight with a friend. We went our separate ways at the end of the evening, and I had about 2 blocks to ride back by myself. Because of construction, I had to ride on a sidewalk. The streets were dead, but it wasn't a problem. So, right where I was about to turn left, onto my street, there was this man walking by himself, maybe 40s, a little scruffy, but not homeless. The sidewalk was narrow. I didn't want to freak him out, so when I got about 6 feet behind him, I said, "Hey, behind you," and he turned around and gave me this super angry look. I turned down my street. He started following me, literally screaming about how I was a fucking cunt, and he was going to kill me and all that. I lived right out the corner, and I didn't want him to figure that out, so I decided to do another loop around the block. That's not the scary part. The scary part is that when I looped back around and looked back down my street, I saw him standing on my fucking front stoop, staring out the street like the motherfucker knew I lived there. He saw me right by again, but he didn't say anything. I ended up going back to my friends, but my bike got stolen from the alleyway by the house 2 days later. Edit. The guy in question was definitely not actually homeless. We have a large population of mentally ill in that area, unfortunately. Downtown of a medium-sized city. So if I didn't think the sidewalk was too narrow to pass otherwise, I wouldn't have disturbed him. Half the scary part was that he looked pretty much completely normal for my area. That being said, I ended up texting my mom, and she made the decision not to notify law enforcement until my bike was stolen.